Hi everyone, my name is Sonny Burns. Actually, this picture was taken just a few miles from here in Morris County Medical Center. And only 2 weeks ago, actually, our baby's like 16 days old, so our fifth one. So I'm gonna be talking about Buy Your Freedom today. Should be pretty good. I'm gonna try to keep it within 30 minutes. I'll set myself a timer. And gonna be covering a lot of things. So I want to start with my life purpose statement, just to kind of tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from. So my life purpose is to be a role model with a sound body, no addictions, financial independence, welcome, and a strong, loving family that can inspire and empower others to invest in their families. I'll go back to this later, but this is from 2010 to 2020. My net worth. So in 2010, I was actually in debt in school, so just like student loan debt. And then since 2020, we got pretty close to being millionaires. And at this point, we're pretty well into being millionaires. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, I'll go more into this chart later. You'll see I had no salary back when I was in school. And then my wife and I were working I as an engineer, my wife as a teacher. We were making like 100K. And then she retired, or she quit when we had our eldest from Nutley Elementary School. And just been growing kind of business stuff since, and our way towards financial independence. Anyway, I'll go back to that chart. Telling you a little bit more about my journey. I was always entrepreneurial. Actually, my brother's here, Raymond, and we actually snow shoveled all the time. Anytime it snowed, I was so excited to see snow this morning. It just meant money for us because we'd go out there and make money, and we were happy because we were pretty poor kids growing up. I mean, not that poor, but my parents told us when we were growing up originally, like really little, all they could afford was mac and cheese, and that's all we would eat is mac and cheese. I don't know if it's a true story. When I turned 13, I started selling things on eBay, just all different kinds of things. Take some stuff from the house that wasn't used and just start selling things. I think I have like 600 transactions on eBay right now. When I turned 17 in 2007, I was graduating high school, and I was thinking about transportation, and I really wanted to buy a motorcycle. So on 4th of July, I went to all these different festivals and just sold glow sticks and fundraised. And I bought my motorcycle. It was like $2,000. And the reason I wanted a car, but car insurance is so expensive for a little kid, a young kid. It's like $2,000 for a motorcycle. It's only like $300 a year. So I got the motorcycle. It's also super good on gas. And when I did that, I realized that I got a really good deal on this bike, like $2,000, but I realized next day I could have sold it probably for around $3K. It was just always on Craigslist and finding the best deal, and then this one popped up and I'm like, that's a good deal. And that gave me the idea that I could start buying and selling cars. I mean, motorcycles aren't that popular, so I was thinking about cars, but at that point I had no capital. I bought this bike and I used up all my capital. So I started working in my senior year at Taco Bell. I also worked as a custodian in my high school. But I started working at Taco Bell to build up enough capital. So for 6 months I worked. The day I quit, I bought my first used car. It was a 1999 Mitsubishi Mirage. Hello, welcome. And I paid $1,390 for it. I sold it 11 days later for $2,800. So it was 100% profit, and I did that 19 more times to pay my way through college. I was pretty lucky actually going to college. My parents were poor, so I got a lot of financial aid. Also, I was pretty smart, so I got a lot of scholarships. But when I was in my junior year, I applied for this thing called the Department of Defense Smart Scholarship. So I'm a federal employee now, but it's a federal program where they pay full tuition and give you a $25,000 a year stipend for any STEM degree, any science, technology, engineering, math degree. So if you know any college kids, it's a great program. So in return for paying full tuition and $25,000 a year in your pocket, you just got to work for them a year. So I had to work for them 2 years. I'm still working for them 10 years later because I like it there. But that was a great program. And having that extra cash in my pocket, a lot of people who won this scholarship just bought themselves nice new cars, BMWs and things like that. But I started getting into the stock market. And at first with the stock market, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I was just buying stocks that I liked. Now it's mostly just index funds that I invest in. But I was kind of looking, actually this chart's 3 years old, but I was looking at when I started investing back in 2011, now today I've invested $53,000 in my Roth IRA. So this is 3 years old, but at that time I had invested $53,000. It was worth 3 years ago $120,000. It's probably a lot more now. But yeah, it like more than doubled in 10 years, which was kind of cool to see. My wife's didn't do as well. We invested like 61,000, it's worth 91,000. And my 401k, we invested like 71k, and it's worth 174k. But in like a 10-year span, it was cool to see it like double, and see that growth was kind of cool to put together. So I graduated college in 2013 with a positive net worth, which was kind of cool because of all those investments. I got married to my wife that same year. Anyone know what the average cost of a wedding is in the USA?
12K?
50,000. So it's 33,000. How about Northern New Jersey though? 50. So it's 62,000 in Northern New Jersey, which is insane. And that's, I feel like some of the weddings we've been to, I'm like, they're not 62. It's in the six figures for sure. Our 100-person wedding, 2,600. Yeah, my wife's really good. Like we went to an actual wedding venue in Warwick, New York, really nice place, Chateau Hawthorne. And she just talked to the owner, and she was like, we don't drink alcohol, and we just want a nice place to have our wedding. And she's like, oh, you don't drink alcohol? We can give you the birthday party rate. So $120 a head became $38 a head. And so, yeah, so we're very just frugal people. After we got married, we didn't find a nice, fancy apartment. We just moved into a bedroom in my parents' house. We paid them $500 a month rent. And I was making $50K as an engineer. She was making $50K as a teacher. So we had a good salary coming in, but we just socked that away. So I started working as an engineer. So I started around like 50,000. Now I'm making like 120,000 like 10 years later. So pretty good pay bump over the years. But yeah, pretty low to start. Why did I have that there? I don't know. But so our mentality has always been not to buy things, but to buy our freedom. I really like this quote. A little bit of inconvenience can lead to a lot of happiness. And I think we've always had like goals and dreams, and that's what we're always pursuing rather than objects and just things that we desire more. Yeah, so we desire freedom more than things. So I have a couple things, that people desire, nice fancy Teslas that cost a lot of money. Some people like driving them. Nothing against that, everyone has their things, but just kind of to illustrate like how much these things cost. Like if you were to buy the latest iPhone for the last 10 years or so, you'd be spending $12,000 just like upgrading every single year. On average, New York City people spend $8,000 a year just eating out. If you just spend $3 a day buying coffee, that's $1,000 a year. Average men's haircut, $34. My coworker gets a haircut every 2 weeks. I calculated over 30 years because I've never paid for a haircut. I've never paid for a cup of coffee. I've saved $24,000 by not getting haircuts, which is insane over 30 years. But it's a long time, but it all adds up. So we're very frugal people, and I think that's what's accelerated our journey towards financial independence. So I wanted to kind of give a little case study about the first 2 years of our marriage, living in my parents' house, how we were able to save $75,000. So, six-figure income, we were at like $100,000, but we saved $75,000 in 2 years. So we lived at home, paid my parents $500 a month. We packed our own lunches to go to work, so we didn't eat out. We lived off a cash budget, $450 a month. So we would, every beginning of the first on the month, we'd withdraw $900, $450 for her, $450 for me. That's all we would spend. And some weeks, some months, we'd be like week 3, we're out of cash, all those Benjamins gone. But it really helped us gain the discipline to like stick to our budget and things like that. We cut our own hair, rarely went out to eat. We bought everything used, everything off Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, garage sales. Still to this day, we did our kitchen, and everything in our kitchen, it looks like a $50,000 kitchen, but everything was used. We went to Habitat for Humanity for like all the cabinets. The only thing that was new, all the appliances were used, the only thing that was new was the stone countertops. But that's just the way we live, and I think it's just helped us also accelerate our journey. And we just resell all our unwanted things and clutter. We don't pay for cable TV. We don't even own a TV. And yeah, we don't drink alcohol or coffee. We always travel for cheap using travel hacking, and we don't do tourist traps. We love hiking, we love outdoors, so whatever place we're at, we're just embracing the culture there. Cheap cell phone plan, still pay less than $24 a month. Raymond's in it. We got 10 people in our grandfather T-Mobile plan. We bought cheap, used, reliable cars. Some of you have seen that Sunma car out in the back. We have Sun Pop, and then we have a minivan now, Sun Fam. But yeah, $3,000 for that. I bought 10 years ago, still running strong. $5,000, I bought that. We used that for TURO. We rented it out. Unfortunately, it's no longer with us. I'll go into that story later. But yeah, didn't collect massive amounts of student debts, got scholarship, worked through college. Even while taking 23 credit semesters, I was still working as an intern machinist or a work-study machinist in school. When I turned 25, we had our first child. This is Valen. And at that same time, when he was 6 months old, we bought our first piece of real estate. So this was our 4-family property in Garfield. We bought it for $430,000 at a 4% interest rate, something everyone would love to have these days. What happened there? And yeah, it was an interesting 4-family. It has a house in the back and a house in the front, both 2 families, 1 unit in the bottom, 1 unit in the top, and each 3 bedrooms each. So 12-bedroom, 4-bath place, so 4 3-bedroom units. We did a lot of work. It was pretty grungy. Like, it looks pretty disgusting if you look at it, but it was a cash cow. So that's what it looked like before. We ripped out all the cabinets, threw them out the window, and just gutted the whole thing, and did that for a lot of the apartments there. It was a good deal, but we had to do a lot of work to it. So why did we do that? You know, houses are expensive. You got your mortgage, you got your property tax, you got your insurance, you got utilities, water, sewer. In total, you know, that 4-family costs about like $3,000 a month, and it's a typical single family, you're paying about the same. And so $40,000 a year in expenses from your house. You know, most people's primary expense is their housing. So what we wanted to get away from that. So we lived in Unit 1 down there. We rented out Unit 2 to actually our in-laws and gave them a good price. Unit 3 we rented out for $1,700, Unit 4 $1,815. So, and then we had parking charges and laundry. We had coin-operated laundry machine. So we were bringing in $4,600 a month. So we were able to live for free and actually make money in our housing situation. So we cash flowed about $1,200 a month. There's maintenance costs in there, so it was probably pretty close to neutral. But yeah, we didn't have to pay $2,000 a month for rent. We didn't have to pay a huge mortgage. You know, after 30 years, this property is bought and paid for. We bought it for $430,000. I'm sure it would clear $1 million today. So that equity, and all the tenants are paying that equity. We're not paying that out of pocket. We got tax deductions. That's why we went that route of buying a 4-family. Hard to buy a 4-family, 3-family, 2-family. Even 2-family is getting hard. Anything's hard in this market. But there's some before and after pictures. So we tried to make it beautiful. We put in a coin-operated laundry because none of the tenants had laundry before, so all 4 tenants used that. That's been going well. Actually, we came home, so we were in Japan all of last year. We came home, we had $800 in quarters. It was insane. Actually, so we have 2 coin-operated. We have one in North Arlington, another property we have, but $800, it was crazy. We have our kids roll the quarters. Each time they roll a $10 roll, we pay them a quarter, so that's how they earn some money. More before and after. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hard work. You know, my wife just gave birth and she's patching sidewalks, but, you know, made those sacrifices, got a little uncomfortable just to, you know, be successful later on. So yeah, currently it's bringing in about $7,800 a month, just these 4 units, $93,000 a year, that's gross. Yeah, so also in that same year, we got into Amazon FBA. Anyone do Amazon FBA here? Fulfilled by Amazon. So, you know, you see all those people selling on Prime. So what we did, so we brought home our son from the hospital. That's actually my son's picture on the Amazon. It's still there. I was looking at it today. There's actually like 2,000 reviews now on this listing. But yeah, we brought home our son from the hospital, and they give you this hospital binky, and then you lose it, and then you can't go to Target or Walmart and find it. They don't sell it. So we were like, okay, how do we find this? We were looking on forums. Everyone's like, where do you find this dumb pacifier? So we sourced it. We found the local factory actually in New Jersey, who I think they were just a distributor, but we bought 100 pack from there, started selling on eBay. So annoying to get post office and mailing address. So we found Fulfilled by Amazon. You ship Amazon 1,000 pacifiers. As soon as someone buys it, they fulfill all of it. You know, they deliver it for you. And we're like, oh, this is awesome. And we were, I don't know, we were making, I think like $2 a pacifier sale. And the first year we sold like $30,000 in pacifiers. And we're like, this is awesome. But it wasn't our own product, so competitors hopped on. It was good for like 2 or 3 years, but competitors hopped on, and then eventually it just wasn't worth it anymore. But yeah, this product is still selling, and they're still using my son's photo. But yeah, that was pretty good. I'm still thinking about Amazon FBA. We don't do it anymore just because of the competitors, but I just patented, or I'm I'm in the process of patenting a product, so I don't have competitors anymore and trying to launch it on Amazon FBA, probably in the next year. 2017, we had our second child when I was 27, and then we bought our second property. So this is 2 years later, we bought our second property. There's a 3-family in North Arlington. Currently brings in about $60,000 a year. We bought it actually off Craigslist. There was a for sale by owner listing, $350,000. And we used a cash out refinance. So we got like a new mortgage and pulled out some cash because we had fixed it up, and then to buy this next property, this North Arlington property. 2 years later, in 2019, we bought this 4-family in Lyndhurst, and it brings in currently about $90,000 a year gross. So the 3 properties, we have Garfield, Lyndhurst, and North Arlington. So that's a 4-unit, 4-unit, and a 3-unit. They bring in a total of $241,000 a year in income. Again, that's gross, so you're still paying taxes, still paying a mortgage, still paying insurance, still paying utilities, maintenance. Total operating expense of about $131,000 a year. So net profit of about $100,000 a year, which is pretty good and pretty much enough for our financial independence from this alone, which is pretty cool. And then we're always trying to maximize. So after we bought Lyndhurst, we went back to Garfield, and we've had this like storage room area that wasn't useful for anything. And we're like, instead of storing all that junk in here, let's convert it. And we made it into an Airbnb. And it was super nice. We made it Japanese style. I'm half Japanese, so we had futons on the floor. We had a heated table, Japanese style. We had shoji screens. We put in a projector, and we had all these anime DVDs people could watch. People loved it. Unfortunately, Garfield changed their Airbnb laws and banned it, so we had to shut it down. But that was good for a couple years. Hey, good to see ya. Hey. In 2019, I also got into TURO. Who's heard of TURO? Who uses TURO? Who rents out their car on TURO? Yeah?
I mean, I want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we did that. So I had this car, you guys saw it. I had it for like 5 years before. I'm like, hey, I hear about this thing, TURO. Let me just put my car on there, see what happens. And yeah, so we live in Mine Hill, which is like middle of nowhere. But people would come to rent this car, and we would rent it just for $34 a day. But sometimes people would rent it because it was so cheap, 80 days, and that would make me $1,300, and that would be pretty sweet. I bought this car for $5,000. It made me $1,300 on one trip. In 2020, I earned $6,000 on trips, and I would just have my keys in the mailbox, and they'd come. I'd never even have to meet them. They'd take it, and they'd usually scan me their driver's license and whatever. But yeah, $6,000 in 2020. In 2021, I earned $5,500. Unfortunately, in 2022 or 2021, someone crashed it, which is always a risk. But TURO reimbursed me. They gave me $4,000. And again, I bought this car like 8 years earlier for $5,000. So I got the $4,000. I got the $11,000 whatever from those 2 good years. And then and I basically was able to drive that car all those years anyway. So that was a good win. And TURO, I feel like, is very scalable. I mean, now cars are kind of pricey, but you could buy cars pretty cheap and get that rolling. I have a friend who has 33 Jeeps in Colorado, and that's his business. That's all he does for work, is have 33 Jeeps that he rents out, and that's his livelihood. Yeah, I have a blog where I share about different financial independence stuff. We have a podcast, my wife and I host it, where I have 97 episodes. We got to get to that 100. We were in Japan all last year. We never got to post anything. But yeah, through those things, I wish I did a better job on the podcast, like getting sponsors and stuff, but I don't. But we do have Amazon affiliate links on all of that stuff, and this year it's looking like around $750 I'll get in commissions from Amazon, just putting links in different things. Like I help them sell $25,000 in products, and they give me a $700 cut for that. YouTube, I have a YouTube channel, which I got more serious about in the last 2 years. This year, it's looking like around $1,900 I'll be making in just ad revenue. I have 6,600 subscribers as of this morning. My brother, somehow, with half my subscriber count, makes like 3 times the amount I do, which I don't understand, but that's cool. So I'm working on that. And usually I'm just doing like trip videos and, I don't know, just fun things. Yeah, and then again, trying to maximize that 4-family in Lyndhurst, all the apartments, like super small 2-bedrooms, which aren't great for long-term tenants. So we were like, hey, what if we do furnished rentals to traveling nurses? We hear that's a big thing. So we were able to raise the rent. Actually, when we bought the place, it was only $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom. Really old, really hasn't been updated in so long. And now we're getting $2,400 a month for that 2-bedroom. And actually, everyone's telling us we got to raise our prices because so we're planning to raise it to $2,800 a month. So from like $1,000 to $2,800 for a furnished rental apartment. That's what the plan is. Also, when I turned 30, we had welcomed our 3rd child, our first girl, Kaylee. And then that was the time when we were like, okay, now it's time for us to kind of enjoy life a little more, get away from our Garfield property where we don't have a blade of grass, we have growing children. So we bought a nice house in Mine Hill. It backs up to a lake, has a pool, has 4 bedrooms, a really great place to raise our kids. It's on a cul-de-sac. And just, yeah, when we bought it, actually, they didn't even advertise that there was a lake back there. So we did a lot of work, took out dumpster loads of trash that the previous owner had dumped back there, and just started renovating the place, clearing it out, and just making it kind of a nice oasis for our family. We actually homeschool all 5 of our kids now. We're homeschooling them, and so that's why a lot of this actually started with that idea. My wife was homeschooled K through 12. She became a teacher. And that didn't change her opinion too much about the school system. So she wanted to continue to teach. And I was like, okay, we want to do that, but how are we going to do that in a smart way? And that's why we talked about rental properties and that side income coming in was able to, she didn't have to go back to work after having our first child. So that's when I was 31 in 2022, we welcomed our 4th child, that's Caden. And yeah, so bringing it back to the beginning, going from 2010 with negative net worth, student loan debt, and then, close to being millionaires by 2020, and now 2023, well into being millionaires. Just with COVID prices and house prices, like our real estate stuff has all like doubled, some tripled. So yeah, that's been really good. But I think even without real estate, like we were just on a good trajectory with all the different things we were doing, just being so frugal and just saving. Like we were still trying to max out our Roth IRAs, max out our 401ks during that whole time. Yeah, so where did I want to go? Maybe that's it. Yeah, so in 2020, we were actually able to hit like 108% financial independence, which just means we had more income coming in outside of our W-2s than our expenses. So that was kind of cool. And I'm still working full-time as a Department of Defense engineer. And, health benefits, having kids is expensive. Actually, I was looking at the bill for having our child. It would have been like $30,000. We ended up paying $250. But yeah, $30,000 is what they charged the insurance. Insurance paid, I think, $15K, but we paid $250 out of pocket. So for that reason, I've still been working and also just want to be a little more secure with reaching like 125% financial independence before really thinking about retiring. I have a nice spreadsheet people can use on my blog. It's a good, kind of just shows everything: net worth, your assets, your debts, your bills, recurring expenses, your monthly spend limits, budgets. I don't know, it's a good, useful thing. Yeah, and I like to live a pretty balanced life, I think. So this past year, as I've been talking about, we lived in Japan for an entire year. This is over 100-year-old house. We actually found that on Airbnb in Japan, and we lived there for the past year. We actually brought my parents along for the entire year. They're both retired, so they just came with us. And that was great for my wife, who had a lot of more support. And we've been homeschooling, but we enrolled our 2 kids in the elementary school. Where do I have that? I have a picture somewhere. Oh yeah, we enrolled them in the elementary school, because even though we homeschool, we're in Japan, we should take advantage of the culture and have them immerse themselves. So they actually learned Japanese. My 8-year-old still reads better in Japanese than he does English, and they didn't know anything going into Japan. So that was pretty cool. And it was just such an awesome cultural experience, as well as financial experience, because a lot of international companies will pay for your housing while you work internationally. So we just rented out our single family, left it furnished, and rented it out the entire 12 months. It was rented to a family with just one daughter, and they rented the whole place. So we were getting $3,400 a month extra in rent while having our housing paid for. And it was just sweet financially, especially the dollar is so much stronger than the yen. So we were really enjoying ourselves in Japan. And we could bring all our stuff, so we brought our bikes, we had bike trips. got to visit awesome places, onsens, hot springs. We got to go on a cruise. Again, the yen was really cheap, so we got to go on a cheap cruise, took the whole family. Got to experience cool things like this. Does anyone know what this is? Yeah, at the top, you drop, so there's running water through this bamboo chute, and then you drop noodles, and then you gotta take your chopsticks and grab the noodles as they come by and eat it. And we got to go to a school friend that my son made. His father owns a brewery, and he just did this in his little factory. So that was kind of a cool thing. Photo shoot. My wife bought all these kimonos in thrift stores. She was going to thrift stores like every day in Japan. Yeah, so just like awesome experience. My dad made connections with, so that's my 8-year-old, and he would go every Monday to the local elementary school and read English books to all the kids. And all the kids would loved him. They were so excited to have him there, and every Monday he would read to them, and the school was just so happy. Because the whole school, 99% all Japanese, like no foreigners at all. My kids were the only English-speaking people there. So that's kind of my story, where I'm at now, and any questions?